Hello, and welcome to the iShine podcast. I'm super excited because I have one of the most phenomenal ladies. Look at that smile. You guys already should know just from the smile. This is going to be a great conversation. Dr. Sharon Stewart is like one of the most amazing people you would ever want to meet. And I've had the pleasure of meeting her. I believe it was last year, maybe in October, I believe it was, in the
Yes.
SheEO district. And so I tell you, since that time we met and then we saw each other again in Miami. And I tell you, this lady is just the spirit that is upon her is
Oh,
so wonderful. And so if you haven't met anybody like that, you need a Dr. Sharon Stewart in your life, right? Yes.
you're too kind.
How are you tonight?
I am wonderful. Hello, everybody.
Yes, honey, they coming on in. I see Keisha say, hey, ladies. I see another Facebook users. They don't have the name, but they are saying hi. So thank you all for tuning in. Make sure you share the broadcast, tag other people to come in because Dr. Sharon Stewart is on tonight because we are recognizing that she's going to be honored at the SheEO conference for excellence in health. And not only just health, but mental health. She specializes in that. And so we want to tap into that because y'all know we're just gonna go on and clear the air. Mental health is like taboo in our community, but at the same time, I think people are beginning to recognize that we need to normalize having conversations about mental health, right?
Yes. Amen.
Yes, so I'm going to read her bio. Y'all know it's impressive, so I'm just going to give y'all a little bit of it. Then I'm going to let her come in and tell us a little something about herself. But Dr. Sharon Stewart is the owner and practitioner of Stewart Mental Health. In 2004, she began providing psychiatric services for the Tennessee Department of Corrections, administering psychiatric assessments, consultations, diagnosing, and medication management to male inmates housed in minimum to maximum security penitentiaries across the state. Woo, honey, listen, that is no small order to be able to do all of that in a male dominated penitentiary. So I know, yes, listen, that just shows, and she's still smiling, that just shows
Yeah,
the strength that
I
she has,
loved it.
right?
I loved working there.
The strength and the resiliency, right? Yes. So it was there where she developed an understanding concerning the criminalization of mental health. Oh, that's powerful. And I want to kind of go back to that because I've never really heard people talk about the criminalization of mental health. So we definitely want to put a pin and come back to that. So she held a part-time position in Life Care Family Service, which was a community mental health center in Nashville, Tennessee, as a psychiatric mental health nurse practitioner from 2004 to 2010, rendering services care to both insured and uninsured clients. Seeing how environmental stressors and social influences affect mental health, Ms. Stewart became a sole proprietor in January 2007. So, y'all, she's not new to this, but she is most definitely true to this, right?
Yes.
Then, due to the increasing demands of the community, she went into full-time private practice in 2009, making available psychiatric medical treatment to those in need living in Springfield, Tennessee, and surrounding areas. Wow. At Stewart Mental Health, she currently serves clients across the lifespan with various ethnic, cultural, religious backgrounds, current and retired military families, and those with health conditions, including pregnancy, heart disease, diabetes, cancer, and chronic pain. Sharon Stewart has been in the medical field since 1994 and has held various nursing positions in home health, medical surgical, diabetes education, long-term care, hospice, and high-risk obstetrics. She believes in treating the totality of a client, which includes his or her spirituality, along with a person's physical and emotional being. I want to kind of read all of that because, when we start talking about really helping people, you're not just talking about one aspect. And that's what's powerful about it because you want to treat the totality of somebody. I see P. Angela coming on in talking about, hey, Queens. Hey, P. Angela, thanks for tuning in. Listen, this right here is really important because there's so many facets of a human. And when you try to treat one thing, you're missing out on really the healing that they need so that they can get past some of the things that they deal with. And so I know that we're going to pick it back up on your motto, which is I see people, I don't herd cattle, which means that you're more than just a number in a 10-minute appointment. So your most recent endeavor has been in response to the COVID-19 pandemic. So we'll talk a little bit about that, as well as this new group that you founded. But welcome, Dr. Sharon Stewart. So share the woman behind all of that stuff that you do.
Oh, I love it. I love what I can do. I can do it breakfast, lunch, and dinner.
That's what they say. That's how you know it's your purpose, when you can do it and don't think about it. And for you, that is your passion as well. So it's a beautiful thing that God has graced you with. I see, listen, P. Angela seconds my emotion. What she said, my Dr. Sharon is one of my favorite SheEOs. Yes.
Oh, thank you.
I told y'all, honey, listen, you better get your Dr. Sharon in your life. If you don't know, you better tap in so you can connect with her, right? Yes.
Yes. Tap on in.
Tap on in. So let's start here, because I know that number one, at the end of this broadcast, I want people to get a clear understanding of why you are going to be the recipient and why you're being honored for excellence in health. But you chose to really specialize, out of all the amazing things that you did, to really tap into the mental piece of it. Why was that?
Oh, there are various reasons why I chose to go into mental health. First and foremost, my own family. My father served in the U.S. Air Force and retired. And he served in both Korean and Vietnam wars. So he was a person that was affected by Agent Orange and developed PTSD.
Gotcha.
And with him developing PTSD, I know sometimes the focus in the media is on the soldier, but what they don't realize is that the family also gets PTSD when that soldier, when he or her comes back home, and they are not exactly the same. Yeah.
That's powerful, because when people go through traumatic experiences, it shifts how they act. And so the person that you knew pre-PTSD, it's not really the same person that you know when they come back.
No.
That trauma touches you in a different way. That trauma, shifts maybe, casual conversations that you may have used to, laugh and joke about. Now it can become something totally different. And if you're not prepared, and we're never prepared, you think with your father being in the military, coming home as a family, you don't think about that. You just know daddy's home. I'm just glad he's here.
Right.
But then it changes, because now you're dealing with somebody who is not quite the same.
That is correct. Trauma is real.
Wow.
And it doesn't just affect the one person that went through it. It's almost similar to, like, if there's a family of 5, mom and dad both work, and one of the children, let's say the youngest child, develops some type of disease like leukemia. Well, mom probably will quit work because the child has leukemia. The child is sick and frequenting the hospital. So she can't take Susan to her ballet lessons on Thursday nights because she's got to be at the hospital. Dad is working extra and overtime because mom's income no longer exists. And it just affects everyone in the family.
A breakdown, definitely.
Yes.
And let's kind of stay there for a minute, because it really speaks to the ramifications of how people handle situations as they get older, when they're exposed to things like that. Because now resentment sets in. If I'm the one that wants to go do ballet and you can't because mom is with somebody else taking care of them, then you feel guilty because you're like, well, I don't want to be selfish, but I want to do what I want to do. But I know that they're really going through. So now you're warned within yourself. And there's so many things that I know we see people deal with as adults, never really fully understanding the trauma and the drama that they were exposed to and how that can impact their mental health.
You are exactly right. Exactly right. It goes beyond Susan wanting to go to ballet. Then we have to deal with her feeling rejected and unloved and set aside. And she may start acting out. Mom is feeling guilty because one, her baby is sick and in the hospital, and then she's thinking, what could I have done differently to try to prevent this from happening? And then she's feeling guilty because her husband's working overtime and she's not seeing him as much. Then their marriage becomes strained, and then the other child is just lost in the shuffle.
And then there's overwhelm. I mean,
yes, it's
let's just face it. When you're dealing with any kind of issue, particularly whether it's medical or mental, the overwhelm of dealing with that situation is just more than a lot of people can even deal with. So what I kind of sort of wanted to talk to you, and I believe I mentioned it earlier, is that before we even got on here, it's about really kind of delving into complex trauma. Because I think that, we hear things, we hear about PTSD, we hear about multiple personality disorders, we hear about, even just plain anxiety and depression that affects mental health. But when it becomes complex, what exactly are people dealing with when you start looking at complex traumas?
Complex traumas usually are traumas that come from someone close to you, or maybe in your family, the victim and also the perpetrator or predator. They're usually related. Like, for example, I have seen children of pastors and their mother or father have been sexually aggressive towards them, molestations taking place, or severe physical abuse. And with those, especially in the Black community, since mental health is taboo, they sort of say what goes on in the family, what goes on in this house stays in this house.
Right.
Don't talk about it. Don't breathe about it. Don't think about it. It's gone, done, and over with. It's the past. But that past actually continues to speak to that person throughout their lifetime if they don't receive help. It'll pop up somewhere.
Yeah.
In your mind, make you anxious, make you depressed. You lack effective communication skills because of it. I know a lot of rape victims don't do well on interviews because they don't know how to sell themselves, because they've had a hard time believing in themselves, because they suffer from self-condemnation about the rape, thinking that it's their fault. They're feeling guilty and ashamed. But it was never their fault. The other person was an angry person and had a problem. Not the other way around, not the victim. But that's how the enemy plays with our mind. Anything to make us think of ourselves as unworthy, make us feel stuck and not go forward with our lives and our purposes in our lives. That's what the enemy plays on, to keep you from going forward, especially in Christ.
Exactly, exactly. That's so good that you're even really putting it out there like that, because the enemy will have you believing one thing, and even society kind of enables that, because the victim really is the one that seems to go through the most.
Yes.
you know, when you look at society, they're the ones that really have a difficult time, coming forward, because now people are blaming them, especially if it's a high profile person, that they're accusing, or if it's like you say, a family member. No one wants to point the finger at the person who did wrong. They just want the victim to just go somewhere, sit down and be quiet. And that is so detrimental. And I have a comment here. They said hurt people, unfortunately, hurt people as a result of trauma, abuse, etc. That's never been addressed.
Oh, that's absolutely true. Hurting people do hurt people. In fact, I I wonder what makes some people, some of us that have been sexually assaulted or sexually abused, what gives us the resiliency to keep going
Mm-hmm.
when others may perpetuate the cycle.
Yeah.
I remember when I was working for the Tennessee Department of Corrections, and I did work with some sex offenders.
Mm-hmm.
And 100% across the board with the sex offenders that I did work with, they had been sexually assaulted or
Wow.
molested.
Mm-hmm.
And they perpetuated that.
Mm-hmm.
That's why I believe you have to treat the totality of a person. You got to find out what made their spirit sorrowful.
Mm.
You have to identify that strong man. If not, um, they just never will reach their full potential of who they could be, who they really are.
Right.
Hmm.
That's good. And when you said that, it made me think of Maslow's hierarchy. When you talk about self-actualization, you can never get to that level if every level but below that has not been dealt with, has not been addressed. So that as you're continuing to pour things or hide it, it never really goes away. And
No.
so, Tanya, thank you for sharing that. Miss Bird, thank you for sharing about hurt people, do that when you are hurt, like you said, if you're perpetuating hurt because you've been hurt, if you've been sexually abused and you turn around and you become the predator, that's a whole different thing. So now you're dealing with, because for some people, it's like a compulsion. It's like they want to do it. I mean, it's like they don't want to do it, but they can't help themselves, you know. And so, in dealing with that, again, I really love that, in your bio, you stated you deal with the totality, because it's just more than that one thing. You got to deal with all the other ramifications of feelings and things, the anger, the hurt, the grief, the disappointment, all those emotions that just get bottled up and have nowhere to go. So if you think about it, to me, it's kind of like I love Coca-Cola. But and I get upset when if you drop it or somebody shake it up, if you take that top off, baby, it's gonna spew out over everything, right?
That
But
is
that's what I think about somebody who has mental health issues, or who has PTSD, or who has been in some type of traumatic experience. When you bottle all of that in, it's just waiting, for whatever that trigger is to set it off, and then it just explodes on whoever or whatever's there.
yes, yes. And my heart goes out to I see a lot of uh, single women
Mm-hmm.
that have been sexually abused by family members, fathers, pastors, brothers,
Mm-hmm.
uncles, you name it, grandpas, just you name it, mothers,
Mm-hmm.
all different types. And they tend to be like really overprotective over their children. This
Yeah.
is another way that it will perpetuate. They
Yeah.
helicopter over their children and won't let them do anything. They can't have sleepovers. They can't go into anybody else's house. They
Mm-hmm.
can't go to parties or things like that. And so then that puts that child at risk of sneaking out, doing things
Mhm.
behind the mother's back, and they don't know
Mhm.
what's really going
The,
on with their
the exact
child.
opposite of what you're trying to prevent is the very thing that happens.
The very thing you're trying to prevent can happen. Mhm.
I'm glad you used that because for a lot of people, and I want people who are listening to this broadcast, people who will go back and catch the replay, that is something that you have to understand about the psychosis of a human being. You want to prevent something from happening, but your very act of trying to keep it from happening typically is what allows people to feel like, oh, I really want to do what you don't want me to do.
Right.
I mean, it's just something inside of us. If somebody says, oh, I don't want you to, you shouldn't go to the club. Well, the first thing that you want to do is soon as, I remember going to college, and I laughed when you were talking about, I wasn't laughing, but when you were speaking about preacher's kids, and I'm a preacher's kid, but the music that was in our household, of course, I wasn't listening to a whole lot of secular music, and it's certain expectations that are on you. People are looking at you, so they want you, to be the good girl and the little, all that. But it makes you. So when I went to college, I saw so many young women who never went anywhere, never did anything. So those are the ones that were buck wild, and you look like, did y'all ever go anywhere? Did you ever do anything? But it's because you see so many people try to keep their kids in, try to keep them sheltered, keep them from getting exposed. And it's like as soon as they get a piece of freedom, they're running to it.
Yeah.
They're running right into the line of fire, per se.
That's very true. That's very true. I did that when I went to college.
What'd you say?
Yeah, I raised my hand up.
Yeah.
Acted a plumb fool. I actually failed my first attempt at college. I was not ready for it. I was someone that should have went later. Yeah, I kind of lived a little sheltered life and didn't go to hardly any parties or things like that.
And it's brand new and it's exciting. When you've never done anything, girl, you hear that music bumping and you see everybody, you just like, oh, that's what I've been missing. And you just want to run and take it all in at one time, because it's like, if you've ever seen somebody who was starving and you give them a plate, it's like they want to eat it up so fast because they don't know if they're going to get it again.
Right.
And so you get into excess,
Yeah.
which is that's in another problem all in of itself that needs to be dealt with, So, I mean, there's so many, that's the thing about mental health issues. It's so many things that fall up under it. So even though you may think, oh, I'm not a schizophrenic, oh, I'm not a, manic depressive, but we all have some form of mental issues that we deal with, that we may keep, like you say, what goes on in this house stays in this house. And maybe you've seen some things, have been exposed to some things that you never felt quite safe enough or comfortable enough to talk about. And it's created problems as you move along, and you may bury it, but there's always a trigger that can allow it to come to the forefront.
There's always a trigger somewhere, and it may not show up until you're 30, 50, 60 years old. My oldest client I've seen was 92 years old.
Wow.
So you never know when it's going to pop up. People need to understand that complex trauma is real, and it will affect you every facet of your life, physically, mentally, emotionally, and spiritually.
Yeah.
Can all be affected by that.
Wow.
By a simple incident that that made you feel rejected. It can be as simple as your parents divorcing. It can be just that simple that makes you feel rejected. It doesn't always have to be the other end of the spectrum where you were abused or put into foster homes and things of that nature. That's a whole nother basket of trauma there. But it can be something that simple. Whatever you process in your mind that makes you feel rejected, make you feel that you don't have a sense of belongingness to your family or to someone. It just makes you vulnerable to all types of attacks from other people, spiritual attacks as well.
Yes, which people don't even realize, but that is the hardest hitting of it when it's a spiritual attack.
Yes.
I see Miss Bird put up this conversation hits home for me too. I was sheltered as a child, went to college in the AUC and didn't know how to interact, especially near an all-male campus. And then she comes back and says, I'm a helicopter mom. Didn't realize it until about 2 years ago. Wow.
That's your heart.
It's so many things that we, just, again, people try to justify so much, when you see the old uncle, and they say, oh, well, that's just how he is, he means no harm. And you allow certain behavior to continue at the expense of exposure, And so there's so many hurt people who have dealt with, the number one feeling of not being safe enough to share things that went on.
Right.
It's a lot, but I want to talk to you about, because I know that I asked earlier about the use of opioids is so rampant, but how does that impact mental health for people?
Oh, well, typically, it's all like going around the mulberry bush, Angela. It usually extends from complex trauma. And the opioid abuse comes in to relieve pain.
Escapism.
Escapism to relieve pain. Escapism, just take you to another place, And when it does that, when it helps you physically and sometimes emotionally, you like the feel of it and you build up a tolerance, and then your body requires more of it. And then you get used to that level of medication. Then you need a little bit more because the pain is starting to come back.
Wow.
Because the actual pain has never been dealt with.
And your flesh will show its behind and keep craving something that just kind of masks it versus making you want to go and seek true help.
That's all it does. I truly believe when I have a back issue, I have to ask myself, okay, what's the reason? Am I not feeling supported? Am I not feeling validated in some sort, shape, form, or fashion? Those are questions that I ask myself when my back hurts.
Oh, Dr. Sharon, you just showed out with that one right there. I've read before and I guess just read it and kind of brushed over it, but I did not realize that certain pains that you have in your body can be associated with certain emotional feelings.
And what you're thinking. I sure can.
Y'all make me run up.
Okay, what's been on my mind? What's really going on here? What have I been thinking about? Am I overwhelmed? So yeah.
Y'all better listen. Y'all better tap into Dr. Sharon so she can help you, because that is so true. It's like people who carry the weight of the world on their shoulders, and then they start experiencing, like you said, backache or shoulder pain and things like that. And you start feeling like, oh, what is it? What is it? What is it? But it's really because you're carrying around so much baggage.
And as a business owner, I have to watch it, because since I'm self-started and I know and developed every role in my practice. So when I get the feeling like that, I have to also ask, as a businesswoman, I have to ask myself, okay, am I not trusting? Why am I not delegating and getting the help that I need? Why am I doing that? I know better. Okay. So I have a problem with sometimes delegating things. Because if I think that it's not going to be done a certain way or the way that I like it, or the way that I may want them to do it, I tend to take a project on myself. That's okay. I'll just do it, and that is not the best thing for me.
And then it shows up
And
in physical ailments.
And physical ailments. Yeah.
Lower
back pain, shoulder, neck pain, tension, headaches.
I told, and I see T burst on like, whew, I didn't realize that. This is good. I recall someone saying one time that, people who have a hard time expressing themselves typically have issues with their throat. You may have laryngitis, you may have, a sore throat, you may have different types of things, but it really is blockages that come along because you have a hard time expressing yourself to other people. Your communication is not there. And so it's funny to even bring it up because a lot of times we just brush it off in more ways than one. We brush it off because it could be a true medical issue that you need to go and find out about. But it also can be a mental blockage that you need to go and talk to somebody to heal whatever's going on so that you can relieve yourself of those pains. And it's like your body is telling you, you just don't want to pay attention to it.
I am a firm believer that your body will speak your mind.
Wow.
I am a firm believer in that. Even I hate keep going back to rape, but I'm just so familiar with that population, and including myself. Victims of rape usually have pelvic issues, endometriosis, interstitial cystitis, bladder cancer, frequent urinary tract infections, male and female.
Wow. Psychologically, because that is the area that you were penetrated in against your will, everything about the area is like a turnoff.
Yes.
So of course, that's where the manifestation of pain or disease or issues happen because that's the source of your pain. Wow.
Yeah. Absolutely.
Wow. That's amazing.
Yeah. The incident of those physical ailments are prevalent in victims of rape.
Wow. So you just think how many people, if you were to seriously sit down and correlate the two things to see why do you have issues that you have, and you may say, oh, well, these people, have, it's unrelated, but in actuality, it's a whole population of people who have experienced sexual trauma that have similar reproductive or those type of organ issues. That's Dr. Sharon. That's why you excellence in health, baby. Yes, that's amazing. So listen, I know because y'all know. Listen, I done got into this with Dr. Sharon, so we can be on here for a minute. But I do want her to speak about because she has a group. It's called 37172. Let's talk about it. Let's pray about it, and it's about grief. I want to know how that came about.
That came about because I live in a very small community. I don't even think we have 20,000 people in our county. And I'm pretty sure we don't have over 5,000 Black people.
Okay.
So as a result, the majority of us know each other. And last year in 2020, I know that in my community, we buried over 300 African Americans,
Ooh.
including my father,
Mm.
from COVID.
Okay. Okay.
And some people died from other health related issues
Mm-hmm.
or health complications from COVID.
Right.
You know, if they had heart issues, then their heart complications came about,
Mm-hmm.
or cardiac failures. And so it was just seemed like just dark cloud was just over our city. And, you know, all kind of things come out of inappropriate grieving,
Mm-hmm.
alcoholism, drug abuse,
Mm-hmm.
gun violence, addictions to pornography, addictions to shopping, addictions, to all sorts of addictions. And isolation, assaultive behavior, depression, real bad anxiety,
Mm-hmm.
suicidal ideations, those type of things can occur when you just don't grieve effectively.
Yes.
And so I was like, well, the stigma that's associated with mental health in the Black community is still there.
Mm-hmm.
A lot of times people think, well, you're not praying enough, you don't have enough faith, you don't believe God, because God is a healer, and He is a healer.
Right.
But we're co-laborers with Him. You got to do your part.
Got to do the work.
You got to do the part for healing or deliverance, whatever you want to call it. You got to do your part. And it's more than praying about it.
Mm-hmm.
But anyway, sidebar.
What you said, I digress, but that's true. That is true.
So I started this group. We meet every second and fourth Monday of the month at a local restaurant here in Springfield.
Mm-hmm.
And it's free to the public. You don't have to pay.
Mm-hmm.
Men and women come, and I've actually had other ethnic groups to attend too, and
Okay.
it's been pretty good.
Because grief is universal. I mean, there's no one who escapes grief.
Exactly, you are
No
exactly.
matter no matter what form. I mean, most times we think about grief as someone dying, but grief can be dealing with a terminal illness. Grief
Yeah.
can be going through a divorce. I mean, there's a lot of things that cause,
Oh, a
for
lot of
some people,
things.
if your livelihood is taken away from you, you go into a depressive state because of grief. So it's so necessary, and it is, how we sometimes try to separate the cultures, but everybody universally feels the same way when it comes to losing a loved one, or going through a divorce, or or losing a child or a mother, a parent.
Mm-hmm.
You feel the same way, and so that's what unites us, and that's where you don't see color, you don't see male
No,
or female.
no, you sure don't. You don't see gender and you don't see color when it comes to grief, because a loss is a loss, or
Mm-hmm.
a change that you don't want to welcome. Like, as you get older, your body changes, and so
Yeah.
you grieve that change.
Yes.
You
Yes.
grieve when you start walking with a walker or a cane. You grieve that. You reject it. Like, I'm not using that.
We say, child, I'm not using that. Now, listen, why you run right here struggling? Then when reality sits in, you just like, girl, let me go and get that cane and make my way on. Now you're depressed because for whatever reason, we never imagine that we're going to be that person. You see
Right,
everybody else get old, but you just never imagine you're going to be the one that needs
right,
a knee replacement,
exactly.
or has, the osteoporosis, and you kind of leaned over. You never see yourself as that person. Let me get to some of these comments, because I want you to add this one
Okay.
specifically, Dr. Sharon, because I know that you just mentioned that the group meets locally there in Springfield. But someone said, Miss Burson, how do we join this group? I need this and didn't realize it until right now. Are you going to open it up?
Oh,
So,
it's open. It is open. We meet every second.
but they don't live in Springfield.
Oh,
Yeah, so we
oh.
need to figure out how to help people who are outside of Springfield tap into a very needed resource like this.
Okay then. So I guess this is my second unctioning here to start a Zoom group.
Look, boom, there you go. Listen.
Yeah.
Look, she said, yes, yes, start something. Absolutely. Let me get to this one right here, too. When I was molested, my pastor at the time told my mom I didn't need counseling, just pray. I wish then I would have gotten help because it impacted me in a lot of friendships and relationships. Yeah, that's a difficult one, Dr. Sharon, when the church typically would say, and really the church's position about a lot of things is, pray. Whether you're in an abusive relationship, they may say, well, just pray, God will work it out, or different things that people go through.
Well, even in our community, the church will make it difficult and people will make it difficult for you to talk about it because they're like, Black men go through so much all the time. Now you're gonna just add this on and make life more difficult for him. I mean, it's just, as a victim, all kind of things go through our head. And even when I was 11 years old, I was weighing out, okay, now if my father found out about this, he would probably go and kill this guy because I know that he already has PTSD from being in the Air Force, So then that man will be dead and my dad goes to prison. I don't have my daddy for the rest of my life. I mean, you just go through so many thoughts.
Oh my God, that is perfect. Do you remember? And y'all listen. Some of y'all can tell me. I'm trying to think, but I want to say if it wasn't Oprah, it was what's the Maya Angelou? But I know why the cage bird sings. But it was something along that line of her being molested or attacked or whatever, and because she said something, that person got killed, and so she stopped talking. And so you imagine being 11 years old, having to weigh out something that heavy of, I don't want to say anything because it's something, if I say something and somebody says, yes, my dad didn't find out until this year and they're 27. Wow. But you as a child, that's so huge that we instinctively know that if we make this action, the reaction will be even worse than maybe what we think it would be if we told. That's a lot of pressure for a child.
Yes, it is.
It's a lot of pressure for a child.
Yes, it is. And for that lady that made that comment, I feel for you. I really hate that because it puts you at risk of falling out with God, and it does impact your friendships and how you relate to the opposite sex or whoever in that role, their gender, you could have difficulty communicating with.
Yeah, I've seen a lot of people who have expressed that molestation at an early age is for lack of a better way to explain it, because of course I'm not a licensed in any shape, form, or fashion, but a first awakening. And so now that you're open to, especially if it's the same sex done, that now you've tapped into something that even when they don't want it, it's like their body is looking for it because of what's happened. And so if somebody is warned against themselves from what their body wants and what their mind says or what their family says versus, how they're wanting to show up, that in turn still creates even more problems. Inside the household, outside the household, dealing with friendships, dealing with relationships. Yes. It's a lot. So, you don't really know what people deal with. You just see the smile. You just see the exterior. You just see the happy-go-lucky. And you don't know who's crying behind closed doors. You don't know who is struggling just to get up and do it another day.
Well, to that lady, I hope that she has sought help or is seeing someone now, because you can let go. You need help letting go of that influence in your relationship.
Yeah. Dr. Sharon, I want you to, because I know we're coming up on our time, but y'all see why she's being nominated for excellence in health. I want you to, I've got, the name of your business there in Springfield, Stewart Mental Health on the screen. But for somebody who wants to reach out, because y'all just can tell her whole demeanor, her whole spirit, the way that she shows up and how it is now with that smile is what you're going to see when you are in her presence. But it's also the tone of her voice that just calms you and allows you to feel like, okay, I can be vulnerable and it's okay. It's a safe space. I want you to be able to let them know how they can contact you for more information, whether it is to talk to you about, additional working with you more, whether it's to connect with you about the grief group. But please share how people can reach you.
Absolutely. I am physically located about 25 miles northwest of Nashville in Springfield, Tennessee. And my address is 105 5th Avenue West, Suite 103.
One more time, Dr. Sharon. 105 what?
105 5th Avenue West, Suite 103. And that's in Springfield, Tennessee, 37172.
37172. Let me make sure I got it again. 105 5th Avenue West, Suite 103, Springfield, Tennessee, 37172, correct?
That is correct.
All right. So I got that in the group.
And you can also reach me through Facebook. I don't mind you sending me a message, inboxing me. And of course, I will uphold the confidentiality agreement that I make with each client that I see or talk to. We also do telehealth. And the phone number to my office is 615 384 7111.
Okay, 615-384-7111.
Yes.
Okay.
Okay.
Yes, y'all reach out to Dr. Sharon. I'm telling you that you already can tell, number one, she knows her stuff. She's very familiar. She's worked with people. She's helped people. She left what could have been in a different arena to do her own thing because it's just that important. It's just that needed, that necessary. But her demeanor, the way that she will help you to uncover some of the things that you probably didn't even realize you were dealing with, that's what Dr. Sharon can do for you. And so I want you all to reach out to her. We have the physical address as well as the telephone number to her office. Please reach out. Please connect to her. Dr. Sharon is, I think, on Facebook, it's just Sharon Stewart. Is that correct?
It's just Sharon Stewart.
So Sharon Stewart. So yes, reach out. Anybody, if you have any problems connecting with her, then reach out to me directly, and I'll make sure that I get you and connect with her. I see Paula has came on, honey, and said Dr. Sharon is the bomb. Point blank, period. Yes, we already know, but for people who hear you tonight, now they get to see. Keisha said, honey, that's my Sharon. Yes, honey. You know what? She's all about now. Everybody. Tanya says, thank you so much, Angela and Dr. Sharon. This was powerful. I'm telling you, the conversation sometimes, you think we're going in one direction, but it comes to so much more,
Yes, it
and it's
does.
such a rich topic when you start talking about mental health. But when you start bringing out other things that people don't even really understand, about my back pain may not just because I'm, bent over incorrectly. It could be because I'm carrying something that I don't need to carry. I'm dealing with something emotionally that I need to release in order for that back pain. Because you said it earlier, you said the body will do what?
Speak your mind.
Somebody put that in the chat for me. The body will speak your mind. It's kind of sort of how they say, your body will let you know when you're tired. You can go and think you're Superwoman or Superman if you want to, but in a minute you will shut down. Your body will, when it needs rest, it will shut you down if you don't take care of it ahead of time.
Absolutely.
So yes, but thank you so much, Dr. Sharon. I cannot tell you, thank you, Paula. I cannot tell you how great this conversation has been. Will you please let the people know whatever it is that you want to leave everyone with before we close out?
I know that we've talked a lot tonight about many different things. Just remember, it is okay to have a moment and not be okay. Just as long as you don't stay in it. But it is okay not to be okay sometimes. Don't feel bad about it. And remember to be sober, be vigilant, be well balanced as you can be in your life. With yourself first, and then with your children and your spouse or other family members, whatever the dynamic is in your family. Just be well balanced as you can be. Give yourself a chance. Realize that you're a human being, but also keep in the back of your mind and in the front of your mind that God loves you. He is truly our source and our sustainer.
Yeah, honey. Listen, I feel like I want to cry, but I want to look. Air hug for now. I cannot wait to see you on Saturday. Listen, that right there was enough for me, baby. Honey, I'm gonna sleep good tonight because she done did, this done gave us that little piece to, in the back of your mind, in the front of your mind. You better know and recognize. So thank you so much.
Thanks for
Before I
having
get
me.
out of here, I'm going to put this video on again for the conference. It is not too late. Reach out, go to SheEOConference.com, get you a ticket, come so that you can help celebrate Dr. Sharon because she is so much, so deserving of this honor for excellence in health, excellence in mental health. She is the bomb, like Paula said. So make sure you connect because I tell you, if you're carrying anything around, trust and believe she's the person that you can go to that will help you to deal with it, to process it, and to be better as you work through it. So thank you again.
All right. Thanks for having me.
You're welcome. All right, y'all, tune into this conference video and see what the hype is all about. It kicks off tomorrow, December the 10th, and Saturday, December the 11th. And December the 11th, you will get to see Dr. Sharon getting her award. So y'all be blessed, and we will see you all soon. Let me just make sure somebody had a comment and make sure I didn't miss anything. Yes, Paula said the ladies are so deserving of their awards. Absolutely, absolutely. All right, ladies, I'm going to put this conference video on, and we will see you all at the conference.